So I don't want to wait because there is something so beautiful which is following upon this wonderful description. As I said, it is the Leela of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, but recounted in a different way. And while people have written life of Sri Aurobindo, they have written life of the Mother, but there is so much more about the Leela if we read through the writings, which is something so amazing. So here it is the Leela of the Lord and his eternal spouse, but in the context of Savitri, obviously. But it is so beautiful that small touches, like when mother would come and she would comb Sri Aurobindo's hair. So every time I imagine that, I feel so wonderful that moment, those who had the great fortune to witness it. Or when she would bring flowers and just lay down, stand, concentrate on her feet for some time, and then lay down. And then she had kept those little places to hang those, flowers offered to him, the garlands, something so beautiful. We cannot imagine. So lest we need to understand that there is not only a possibility, but desireless love, which is something so powerful and beautiful. This is the love that can transform earthly life. Not a love, Mother speaks about rungs of love. She says, first is where one loves only oneself. Second is where one loves another person and expects love in return. Third is where one loves the other, where one loves the other person. Second is where you are loved and you respond to that love. The third is where you give love but you expect love in return. Fourth is you don't expect love in return but you expect acknowledgement. Look here. And the fifth is where you just love because it's your nature to love. It's as you breathe. So there is a possibility of love which is freed from desire. And that's what we see described here. We have polluted everything and associated everything with as if, it's an expression of desire. But the same thing, same gesture can be done in the most beautiful of ways. And that's what we discover. Pure. Okay. I'll just read this full line. But soon she leaned down over her love to call his mind back to her with a travelling touch on his closed eyelids. Travelling touch. How is she touching? His closed eyelids. Settled was her still look of strong delight, not yearning now, but large with limitless joy or sovereign last content, pure, passionate with the passion of the gods, intense but self-contained. This is the difference. Desire stirred not its wings, for all was made an overarching of celestial rays. So, all these gestures, sweet gestures, beautiful gestures, were not done with even the least trace of desire, but pure expressions of love flowing, and yet love where we see that little layer of restraint. It's tremendous, intense, capable of drowning the whole world, and yet it is so beautifully contained. Like the absorbed control of sky on plain, heavens leaning down to embrace from all sides earth. This is how it is. It is leaning all around. Heaven is, in fact, entering earth in every which way, and yet it remains the sky, space, a quiet rapture, a vast security. That's how the Mother described. She says when Sri Aurobindo in his physical body is there, she felt so secure about anything and everything. She didn't have to even think about that whole side of all these attacks, forces. She was completely absorbed in all the works which were there. She says, but later on she had to take up both these works because Sri Aurobindo took upon himself something much more difficult, near impossible, plunging into the darkness. So when you read that, it's something. And later on also, she would describe, she would go and communicate to Sri Aurobindo. Lord, this is happening, this is the problem, that is the problem, all the things. And Sri Aurobindo would just smile. Sometimes he would show, Mother describes the blue immobile head, and she would understand. Or she would just smile. And at one point she says, he would say, be simple, be simple. World is not ready. And then she knows that she has to still work and work and work. This is the way she worked. A quiet rapture, a vast security. Then sighing to her touch the soft winged sleep, rose hovering from his flower-like lids and flew murmurous away. Now what is he describing? She has touched his eyelid gently. She has gazed at them and touched. So what was held by the eyelid? Sleep. That sleep comes, flies away like a bird. Just see the description. Sleep flies away like a bird from his eyes. Literally we use this expression in Hindi. नींद उड़ गई है ना, वी यूज दिस, नींद का उड़ जाना, अब मेरी नींद उड़ गई, कहाँ से आई थी कहाँ चली गई. Sleep has flown away. Look at this expression he has used. Everything becomes living and conscious when we read Sri Aurobindo. Then sighing to her touch the soft winged sleep, rose hovering from his flower-like lids and flew. Again soft winged. You don't get to know how it has flown away. And it has gone soft winged. When it will come, you don't know. It doesn't announce. It comes and suddenly you are asleep and then it flies away. Soft winged sleep. Murmurous away, awake, he found her eyes waiting for his, and felt her hands and saw the earth his home given back to him once more. So see the detailed description. He found her eyes waiting for his. She's waiting for them to open. She's not looking around and suddenly opens like, oh, Satyavan, you've woken up. She's waiting for him. And then when he opens the eyes, he feels her hands and saw the earth his home given back to him once more, and her made his again, his passions all. So he discovers that, well, the two of them are together as one as they were before the parting. He doesn't know all that has happened. He will sense something. With his arms encircling, hold around her locked, a living knot to make position close. At one place, Sri Aurobindo says something very interesting. Someone asked that, what does he mean? Because Puritans have very great difficulty in understanding Sri Aurobindo. At one place he says, to possess mutually and to long to be possessed is the natural movement in love. See, even when you do this with the divine, this is what leads to that, because it wants that union to be complete. Love is the power for union. And Sri Aurobindo goes on to say in Synthesis of Yoga, love seeks two things: intensity of union and the eternity of union. Human beings can at most experience intensity, but not eternity. But only in the divine can we find both. And that's why first we must discover that love, then only it is possible to translate it in earthly science. So there is the intensity and the eternity. So he draws his arms around her to make a living knot, to make position close. He murmured with hesitation. This is not position like the lower vital position. It's the joy that, yes, you're mine, that's it, and I'm yours, that's all. It's not like you will not, no space given to you, you work in the home, none of these things. It's freed of all desires. And yet there is the joy of mutual possession. He murmured with hesitating lips her name, and vaguely recollecting wonder cried. Why is he hesitating? One is that suddenly there is a change come in him. Somewhere he recognizes that she is not just what I thought her to be. So he just can't say, Savitri, is everything okay? He's hesitating. You know that story of Sri Aurobindo, hesitating when he would call mother's name. He would hesitate with, he would say Mira, but he is hesitating at that sound. And Nalnida says, one day he suddenly said, Mother. And he says that was an unrecorded moment in history when the mother's name was established in the outer consciousness of man. He knew long before. So he would hesitate. So like that. So he's hesitating. And what does he say? Whence hast thou brought me captive back, love chained to thee and sunlight's walls, O golden beam and casket of all sweetness, Savitri. So one is that sunlight's walls. How can sunlight be walls? You can't pierce that light. So you're back to that wall of light beyond which you cannot pierce. So sunlight walls. He says you have, because in his forest all is in the open. The walls are sunlight, you cannot see beyond what is happening. So it's a vast big home. So that's why when people ask that, in ashram, how big a room you stay in. So we stay in a, multi-storied, many-roomed mansion, and we have an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and in our dining room, 10,000 people can have food and all this. People say, what do you mean? We live like prince and princess. That's how the mother had kept. If you look at it like that, ultimately to sleep you need one room. But the entire space she has created is everything for everyone. It's something so beautiful. And of course at the center of it, the Lord and the Divine Mother. So, sunlight's walls, O golden beam and casket of all sweetness, Savitri, Godhead and woman, moonlight of my soul. In the night you are the moonlight, and you are the woman, and you are the Godhead. Godhead is the essence of the divine. That's what your womanhood represents to me. For surely I have travelled in strange worlds, by thee companioned, a pursuing spirit, together we have disdained the gates of night. All this year she doesn't know exactly, but he is feeling that they have gone together through the gates of night and disdained it, travelling far and wide. I have turned away from the celestial's joy. This is a marvel of a line, what follows. And heaven's insufficient without thee. Have gone to, not only we have disdained the gates of night, we have gone to heavens. But I don't want to stay there. I want where you are there. Even heaven is nothing where you are not there. Look at to what limitless states passion has been uplifted. Heaven's insufficient without thee. Given a choice that, you will have all the joys of heaven but not Savitri. No, I choose to be where you are. She has also loved him like this. That's how she has loved him. Where now has passed that formidable shape which rose against us, the spirit of the void, claiming the world for death and nothingness, denying God and soul. He has experienced all those things. Somewhere he knows that darkness, that formidable shape. At one place, Mother describes death and it is actually there it's a cryptic story about death. So the first man who died, so he was given the charge of the underworld. So he was told, okay, you are the in charge of Mrityu. So he is, now why this happened? With the first death came this belief that yes, we can die. But for human beings, there is another aspect. We are conscious somewhere of our immortality. But when human beings saw one of their own kind, death has been there, but their own kind die. So since then, it is our belief in death which has made him so fat. Mother was asked this, is he a god? She says, we have made this, she used the word at one place, joker. Actually, we have made him so important, as if he is the ultimate controller of the world. So she says, where is that formidable shape which has vanished, denying God and soul, or was all a dream or a vision seen in a spiritual sleep? A symbol of the oppositions of time, or a mind-lit beacon of significance. So people would say, okay, but death exists. No, death doesn't exist. It's constantly, it is being told to us. We change our forms, that's it. Because we are not conscious, so we call it death. Death is something which human beings have added by their own fears, fed a monster and made him much more monstrous. There is a process, there is a way human body is prone to decay, the soul leaves, the vital leaves. Ask anybody who has left the body. So you are dead, and mother says they don't like it. And I shared this experience of my friend, Dr. Anand Kumar, his grandfather, when he was on the verge of death, he said, Beta, I'm feeling. He said, you are reading Gita, why are you feeling like this? All this, gave a good lecture. He died. And then at night, in his dream, his grandfather came and he experienced excruciating pain in the chest, as if he is going to die. And then he says, Beta, this is the pain of death, you understand now? And he woke up frightened, sweating all over. He himself told me this story. He says, then he went and, just to relieve himself, pulled out a randomly book. Sri Aurobindo's books were there. And it was one of the Upanishads, opened randomly a page. And in the page that sloka comes, that by 101 knots, the nerves, the being is tied to the body, and it is this when you dislodge it that you experience the pain of death. So there is a technical thing behind it. And that's why mother says, if you have learned detachment, you will not have any pain of death. Because you are detached. You will just stand apart and look at your body. Of course, you can't communicate because we don't understand all these languages. But one day when we grow conscious, there will be no death. So this is how. She has described so many states. There is a young child which has died. The parents have come. It's a very touching story. And mother says that they came and I had to give them flowers. She says this little boy, his soul came and wanted mother to give these flowers to the parent. And this is so full of joy because he's near the mother. Mother says, I didn't know what to communicate to them because if I tell them this, they will never understand. That your child is here. He wants me to give you these flowers. They won't understand. So you see, there is something called as the form which is not yet ready to continue changing without death. Mother uses the word deathless state. We'll talk about later, maybe on 23rd. So, but that is different. But the way we are made, there is a death, a being who comes and, he drags you into the net and he becomes so, he will take you with his knot and take you through, God knows, all the hells we have created by our own mind. Such terrible places, Human beings desire to punish others. So we have made kholta kadhai and this and that. Heavens also we have made of these kinds. So Mother and Sri Aurobindo have spoken about it, and she says sometimes so difficult to convince people. Someone who had left the body and she took time to convince him. She said, no, I deserve to be in hell, guilt-ridden. So she says 1 year he was punishing himself. No, I am in hell and I deserve to be in hell. She had to tell him there is no such thing, it's your own making, come out. Finally he came out. So death is one of those, but look at the paradox, we think death is real. This is the way he has, death is real, don't forget. So escape as soon as you can. The moment people know that death is not real, why would one want to go into that kind of janam maran se chutti? You know it is not real. There is a greater work to be done, taking the human body and passing through this process. But we have made him so much more real and alive and concrete. So he says that, was it a vision? Was it that, in some stress of darkness lighting on the way, it was a symbol of the oppositions of time or a mind-lit beacon of significance in some stress of darkness lighting on the way or guiding a swimmer through the straits of death or finding with the succor of its ray in a gully mid the crowded streets of chance the soul that into the world adventure came, a scout and voyager from eternity. He says, what did I see? He's trying to understand. It looks like as if somebody took me through a strait where there was danger and darkness everywhere, or somewhere where the mind had constructed a little ray passing through a dark channel. So because the mind can't see everything else, so it's like a formidable darkness. It calls death. So what was it? I have passed through symbol dreams and worlds which I don't understand. But she replied, and powerful lines they are. But she replied, our parting was the dream. We are together. We live, O Satyavan. And several times I have shared this story and I feel like sharing again and again. In Baji Prabhu, we have Tanaji Malsure and Baji. So Baji tells Tanaji that you go get Shivaji and I'll hold this pass. 50 men against 10,000 Turks, Afghans, Rajputs and all these people. He says, I'll hold. So Tanaji is reluctant, but he's going. But while going, he says, okay, I know, Baji, what you are saying, but don't worry, when I come back, I'll light up for you a pyre, which will be higher than ever anybody has lit. Chita jalaunga, ऐसी जो कभी जली नहीं है. So Baji said, oh, you will burn this. You think I am this body? You will burn this body? You think this is me? So powerful this. And he says, he gives him a repartee. He says, don't worry about that. I will go and wait for you to come back. And Tanaji says, okay, we'll meet there. And we'll shake hands and we'll talk about, sit together and talk. This is the kind of race which at one time existed here. We're not afraid of death. That's what we see in the Ramayana. When Rama says, Parshuram, आप बहुत सब है अच्छा, don't do this mistake of challenging us. Because if you challenge us, then even if death challenges, it will think twice if we take to arms. So please don't do that. And then he realizes, who can speak like that? But one who has realized the divine. So this is how we see Savitri telling him with all the gentleness, her parting was the dream. But she replied, our parting was the dream. We are together. We live. O Satyavan. So we are not only together in some heaven, we are living alive upon earth. Look round thee and behold, glad and unchanged. Our house, this forest with its 1,000 cries. See the richness of earth now he'll describe. Nowhere else, in none of the heavens you see this description. Even when he describes paradise of the life gods, you feel something is missing, something artificial. That was my impression when I went to Singapore, and I hope no Singaporean is hearing. First time, and then, oh, they have heard so much about Singapore, so much. I felt this is a dead place. Sorry to say, but I was feeling, ye, kahan aa gaya hu main? Why? Because you don't feel that psychic presence. So I sat and said, this is a strange place. I don't feel the psychic presence here in anything. So I opened, but perfect in every other way. Huh? Now India is also, much better. So anyway, so I randomly opened Savitri and it came paradise of the life gods. That's how it is. Everything is there. But something is missing. Something that you find here through all the struggles, through yoga, through challenges of life. That's something which grows. Angusht matra purusha. Antaha sharire jyotirmayo hi shubhra. This is what we are. So she says, look around. Our home, this forest with its 1,000 cries and the whisper of the wind among the leaves. And through rifts in emerald seen, the evening sky, God's canopy of blue, sheltering our lives. He said, look around. This scene is only on earth. In heavens you will see purple sky suddenly changing color to, dark red, and suddenly it will become different. You'll see those magic shows. But what you will see here, the unexpectedness, the suddenness, the multitudinous ways in which God expresses Himself, the richness of detail where every leaf is different from the other, even on the same stalk, the riot of colors, the magic of senses, the challenge of death and the victory and triumph of love, bliss earned by forcing through fugitive hands. Says, this is what is our earth. This is so beautiful. Finds nowhere. Heaven is for relaxing. Few days is okay. That's what Arjuna says, no? When Arjuna goes to heaven, it's a very interesting story which is put in different way. When, who was Urvashi? Somebody, anyways, Urvashi. So she tells him, come, let's get married and we'll live together here always forever in the heaven. Arjuna, of course, give her a nice excuse that Guru, he has taught me and Chitrarath and he has taught you, so we can't get married. But Arjuna is not meant for this. He is meant for great deeds. You can't do it in heaven. That's what we see in Ulupi. Shobinda brings this out. Ulupi says, oh Arjuna, you are not meant for this. I know, I am very happy, but I want you to go and take the challenge of life. This is what Shobindo reminds us, the beauty of this earth. And through rifts in emerald scene, the evening sky, God's canopy of blue sheltering our lives, and the birds crying for heart's happiness, winged poets of her solitary reign. So they too are king and queen there. And who are the bards? The birds. This Satyavan had told her earlier that every morning in my father's court, you will hear the heavenly bards and they'll sit on boughs and they will sing. And now she is saying, see, those bards, they have come all around. Can you hear them sing? He's the one who had told her in the same language. So he says, see, you can hear them. The bards are singing the song of victory. Our friends on earth, where we are king and queen. Who are these friends? All these birds, these green canopy, they are our friends. And they are very happy that we have come back. How living and conscious the whole scene becomes. Only our souls have left death's night behind, changed by a mighty dream's reality, illumined by the light of symbol worlds and the stupendous summit self of things, and stood at Godhead's gates, limitless, free. He said, nothing has changed except this. We have gone past night, left it behind, and we have reached the summit self of things, where we have got the sanction of the dream's reality. That which is still a dream, but it is going to become real because it's more real than reality itself. When Mother was asked about Auroville, Mother, is Auroville a dream? She said, yes. Who is the dreamer? Supreme Lord. And the dreams of the Supreme Lord are much more real than earth's drab realities. So Auroville is a dream of the Supreme Lord. Then, filled with the glory of their happiness, they rose and with safe clinging fingers locked, hung on each other in a silent look. See, this is what I like about this canto. They've got up, now they've locked their fingers together and they look at each other. But he with a new wonder in his heart and a new flame of worship in his eyes. That's why when once Savitri was being planned to stage play. So the person went to the mother to ask. Mother said it cannot be staged. You see, the reason is actually, how are you going to express all these things? How do you show joy and wonder in the heart? You can show this, hands holding each other, and with bland face, as if very seriously two people are walking. You can't show that expression which comes. It's so many ranges of expression. If you see, so many ranges of expression from the moment Satyavan is woken up. He is a bit dazed, amazed, where have we come? Then he's thinking, I have come from somewhere, but he's looking at Savitri. Then he asks her, what has happened? Then she says, then he looks, then he holds the hand, and then they join the wonder in the heart. No cinema can capture it. No drama can capture it. Because that's the beauty of poetry. Poetry creates, drama replicates. There is that problem. You cannot do it on stage. All those, even with the best of actors, You can never. That's why even photography, mother says, all art is imitation of nature. Still, it can do something. It can show what nature hides, the beauty that nature hides. But all art is. See, you take a photograph, but when you are actually on the scene, it's a different experience. You cannot capture it at all. So that's why, while it's okay to have photographs for memory, but the original camera is here. You see, when people look at photograph, we were there. But when they recount spontaneously, we were there. It's a different expression altogether. So he says, what high, but he with a new wonder in his heart and a new flame of worship in his eyes. Suddenly his love has grown into adoration. What high change is in thee, O Savitri, bright ever thou wast, a goddess still and pure, yet dearer to me by thy sweet human parts. Earth gave thee, making thee yet more divine. Only the Lord can write like this. That you were always a goddess to me. But by becoming human, you have become greater. There is a line in Savitri, a Godhead greater by the human, a God come down and greater by the fall. And that's what he says in the beginning, that I know you are a goddess, I can see, but much better if you come to me as human. You can feel our human ways, our human anxieties and vexed affection. There is something about human beings which is missed out in anywhere in all the world. That's why even gods covet to take a human birth. If they have to go further, they take a human birth. That's what we see in the story of the 8 Vashus, where Bhishma, all of them take a human birth. 7 go back to their native place, whatever that native place was. Bhishma stays. But Bhishma, when he goes back, he doesn't go to his native place. He assumes a higher status. He's a being of the mid-world, but he has taken the challenge of life. And therefore he evolves. So it's the evolutionary, something which we find here, we don't find anywhere. Therefore he says, you were always a goddess to me, yet dearer to me by thy sweet human parts. Earth gave thee, making thee yet more divine. So that's why genie in the bottle, she's not like a goddess. Okay, what do you want? Food? Okay, I'll magic wand and food. Which food you want? That variety, this variety. But when by the human parts she cooks and prepares, or he cooks, okay, or they cook, whatever you want to put it. See, when a person gets a present, it's one thing. When you do something by yourself, how beautiful it is. This is what human beings can do. They don't do magic, and yet they do something which is greater than magic. In magic, you have everything except love. What is there? You have the power, you did this, you did the magic wand and something came. But when things are done, where your whole integrality has gone, so that's why he says, you were dearer to me by your human parts. Earth gave thee, making thee yet more divine. How beautiful this is. My adoration mastered, my desire bent down to make it subject, my daring clasped, claiming by body and soul my life's estate, rapture's possession, love's sweet property, a statue of silence in my templed heart, a yearning Godhead, and a golden bride. He is reminding her, all this I have connected with you in this way. You are my golden bride. I am your estate whom you possess. All these things are there between us. My adoration mastered, my desire bent down to make it subject, my daring clasped, claiming by body and soul my life's estate. Rapture's possession, love's sweet property, a statue of silence in my templed heart. So everything that we normally use in a negative way, he has turned it sweet property, willingly, consentingly, out of deep love, one gives oneself. So have you given yourself to me. I have also given myself to you in this way. So this is what he describes. But now thou seemest almost too high and great. for mortal worship. Time lies below thy feet, and the whole world seems only a part of thee. Now is his time that all this you always wear, but now you are appearing like Mahakali in her Parameshwar and Mahalakshmi together. Time lies below your feet because she is still in that state, and her face and her countenance is full of that. She had the incarnation thrust aside her veil and she has met the Supreme. What impact it will have. That's how when Yashoda Ma suddenly says, Kana, open your mouth, open your mouth. And he opens his mouth and she faints. He says, what is this? Are you a child? Be a child. I don't want. That's why he made Devaki and Vasudev forget what all had happened in the jail. They later on repented. They, why did you make us forget? Is it was necessary? You wouldn't have been able to live. He made them forget. So he says, now suddenly I am having a different vision. He's a little bit, afraid also. Will she suddenly say, now I am too high for you, and walk away into some heights of Himalayas? So she says, and the whole world seems only a part of thee. Thy presence the hushed heaven I inhabit, and thou lookest on me in the gaze of the stars. Such is the vastness. Your presence is the heaven, and from every star it's you who gaze, yet art the earthly keeper of my soul. My life a whisper of thy dreaming thoughts. I will be what you dream and think me to be. My morns a gleaming of thy spirit's wings. Where you will take me, there I will go. And day and night are of thy beauty part. Even if night comes, it will be filled with stars and you will sail me through it. There is a complete surrender and self-giving. Your thoughts will shape my life, my future. Your will carry me wherever you go, in your winged dreams, and I will just follow you and chase you. Hast thou not taken my heart to treasure it in the secure environment of thy breast? Now I understand why you took away my heart. This is why the divine takes away. First thing, he takes away our heart so that we are secure in him. After that, wherever you may go, it will always be surface. He has stolen the heart, and that heart he keeps secure in himself. Awakened from the silence and the sleep, I have consented for thy sake to be. This all his feelings, like we have in Arjuna when he sees Krishna, how he expresses. I thought you are a friend. Now I see all the Vasus, the Adityas, Rudra in you, Vayu, Anil, fire and space, all these are in you. And the world is only a small part in you. Now I understand. You have just taken an earthly body, and I am so fortunate that you have made me your friend. That's how he sees Anek Adbhut Darshanam. So he is also describing, but in a very different andaz. See, on earthly body of the Divine Mother. I have consented for thy sake to be. It seems that my existence is only because you are there. By thee I have greatened my mortal arc of life. But now, far heavens, unmapped infinitudes, thou hast brought me thy illimitable gift. If to fill these thou lift thy secret flight, my human earth will still demand thy bliss. So he says, I know you have got gifts which I cannot even imagine. But please, stay human. I'll still hold your hand. I'll still say, Savitri, come sit by my side. I need you. Can I have a glass of water? I'll need all these human things. That's what Arjuna says after seeing Krishna. Krishna, I can't behold this vision. Who are you? He says, I would rather, because he says, I have sat with you like a friend. I have put my arms around you. I have said things which I am not supposed to say. Suddenly I am seeing all this. How will I behold? Much better. I would rather if you take your little, diluted form. Diluted form means Chaturbhuj Vishnu. And then he consents and says, yeah, now you are okay, happy? Yes. And then he comes. And then he says, come, I'll drive the chariot. Now what would have been Arjuna's state? That's how Surdas captures, no? Prem ke vas bharat rat hakyo. सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सगाई. तो ही गोज एंड विदुर के घर में साग खा रहे हैं, दुर्योधन के मेवा त्यागो, साग विदुर घर खाई. दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ लव व्हेन इट embodies itself and comes like this. What would have been Arjuna's state? But he says, yes, he listens to what Arjuna says. He gives his counsel. So he knows that for the earthly life, this is the maryada, this is the limit. But he is infinite, illimitable. It doesn't disturb the workings of the earth. That's why in the Gita there is a very nice that those who are the knowers of Brahman, they do not create confusion in the minds of those who are not the knowers. A Krishna Krit and Krishna Krit. Those who know integral reality, they know that they have discovered themselves. Who are they? But they won't go there and to, oh, ordinary mortal, you don't know who am I? They will still be Namaste Chacha ji, aaiye baithiye. Because they have to pursue the path of evolution in that way. So this is what we see with the Divine Mother, and now Satyavan says, I have experienced all this and I know you have brought illimitable gifts. My life is nothing but where you carry me on your wings. All this I know, but still I want the human earthly bliss. If to fill these thou lift thy secret flight, my human earth will still demand thy bliss. Make still my life through thee a song of joy, and all my silence wide and deep with thee. He says, yes, I am so fortunate, so glad, but don't expect that now I'll start meditating 24 hours because you have realized all these things. He says, I still demand you for my, just in your company is heaven. At your feet lies all the Himalayas and all these wonder places. The highest heavens are at your feet. So I want to be, all this I know, but still I would want that you come to me still in your human ways. So we'll stop here and continue tomorrow.